Welcome to the Texas Panhandle Builders Association TPBA Builder Talk podcast, where we'll bring you expert advice from the heart of Amarillo building community. Whether you're a seasoned professional or just starting in the trade, our goal is to keep you informed on the ever-evolving building codes, share best practices, and help you excel in your craft. From innovative design ideas to smart material selections and everything in between, we're here to support you in every aspect of home building. Each episode, we'll dive into the topics that matter most to builders, contractors, and industry professionals, ensuring that you stay ahead of the curve in this rapidly changing landscape. Our discussions are shaped by the experiences and knowledges of our hosts and guests, providing you with valuable perspectives that you can apply directly to your work. The views and the opinions expressed are those of the hosts and the guests and may not always reflect the most up-to-date or accurate information. Let's build something great together, one conversation at a time. Well, welcome back to the TPBA Builder Talk podcast. We're here talking about MEP Rough Ins today. I'm your host, Jordan Dugan.
Ben Hardesty.
Where are you from?
Southwest Sales.
Hey, I know you.
Yeah.
I'm Joel Rafton for the Duration Homes.
I'm Robert Downing with RDS Inspection Service.
We've got an interesting conversation today. Mechanical, electrical, and plumbing rough-ins.
Yep.
All the way from SEER ratings to BTUs, amp draws, all the nerdy details that a lot of people never pay attention to.
Behind the wall, who cares?
Yeah, it's behind the wall. That's what everybody says.
It's in the wall. As long as it stays in the wall and doesn't have to come out of the wall.
It doesn't catch fire.
So I think we'll start with, not necessarily the build order, but in the order of MEPs, mechanical, electrical, and
You
plumbing.
and your acronyms.
I know, right?
But at least he did tell you what it was.
MEPs.
MEPs. Yeah, I think it seems like it's more of a commercial term than a residential. I always heard MEPs on the set of plans in the commercial field.
Yeah, that makes sense. Commercial. All right. MPE sounds bad. Doesn't flow off your tongue as well.
It sounded more difficult for you to say, Joe.
I had to think about it in order in my head, and I almost lost it.
But in residential, and Joel and I will agree on this. Typically, we will go with MPE because it's an order of difficulty to install and be able to move around, right? The HVAC guys have a hard time moving their duct around, especially if we're talking about a two-story house and floor systems.
Bigger stuff.
It's bigger stuff, and it has to go in certain places without question.
Yeah, it's not very flexible either, although it is flexible. But I mean, trunk lines and furnaces, they are where they are.
But the floor joists aren't. You can't move those.
Right.
So, and plumbing is the next because it's
Smaller.
It's smaller,
but you
still has to go to a certain place.
It's linear.
Right, and it's
Mineral.
got it has to flow, and so it has to have drop.
Yeah, the drains have got to be in the right place for the tub and the.
It goes downhill.
And sometimes I will flip flop those two depending on what type of build we have. If it's a single story build and we're doing HVAC in the attic, a lot of times I'll have my plumber start the process.
Sure.
Because we can at that point move it around. But when we're talking about a 2-story building,
Right.
it's a little easier for the plumber to move than an HVAC guy that has to fit a 12-inch duct somewhere
Or 20
or
inch
20-inch
return.
turn. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then electricians just kind of get the leftovers. You run it where you can and get it where it has to go.
Although the part that kind of bumps into each other is the lighting and the trunk lines and so those guys get stuck at the end, but that's what the customer wants is those lights to look really good in symmetrical order.
Mhm.
And next thing you know, the guy before him took the spot.
It's true.
So if you're way back into design, that you have to kind of think how those pieces all come together at the end. So if you are going to, like what you're saying is redesign a location of a tub for a reason, is because right above you is another one. And why would you want your drain on this one when if you turn it this way, it lines up with this? So there's a lot of pre-planning that people don't see to get those things to kind of go smoothly and look good at the end.
There should be pre-planning.
Sure.
I would argue that there's often not, and it's field engineered.
Yeah.
It is field engineered, residentially, especially.
But a successful project is pre-planned, and those things are known about before it gets started, and it makes all the difference in the world. But let's dive into the mechanicals, right? So
You want to talk about the definition of SEER for just a second? It's
Well, back up to mechanical. What's mechanical? What's incorporated for the layman, the person that doesn't know? I mean, mechanical means get your oil changed on your car.
right.
So all of a sudden you talk about mechanical on a house. What's that really mean?
I agree. That's where we should start. So typically referring to the HVAC system,
Heating, ventilation, cooling. What's that stand for?
right. HVAC, another acronym.
There we go. This is the acronym show today.
I know that should be the title.
Acronyms are us. We'll get T-shirts made.
It's heat, ventilation, and air conditioning.
Yeah, HVAC.
And usually the V is the one that's forgotten about. Ventilation.
ventilation. Yeah.
With fans and
Yep.
the dryer has to vent.
Yep.
That's
Exhaust
the
fans in a
heating.
bathroom.
So heating, everybody wants heating.
Mm-hmm.
And venting, they just assume that something's gonna get vented.
And most know little about the ventilation. And then air conditioning. The HAC, that's the part everybody knows, right? We have furnace heaters. Most of them are gas around here. Some of them are electric. I don't think we have very much hydronic heating, but we have some here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's some for sure. It seems like there's quite a bit of floor heating here that I've noticed.
I think it's making
a comeback.
Yeah, I think it is.
It is.
You know why it is? Because the hot water heaters are so darn efficient.
Mm-hmm.
You can pump water through the slab for a lot less than used to be a complete oil fire boiler system to get that water flowing, and you can get a little toast and toasty feet.
And in my opinion, it's the most comfortable way to heat as well.
I understand. Yeah. I've never lived in a house yet, but I've been in a shop that had it.
The very first house I ever built, I had it, and it's not a dry air. Now we still had backup heat.
You had to have air conditioning, so you have to do the whole thing anyway.
Yeah, and we had the air handler time, so we did get some circulation throughout the house, and the house didn't get stale. But even like your furniture and the objects you touch, the leather couch isn't cold when you sit on it. It's whatever you have that room temperature at, and so it feels different. The floor feels different, obviously, because that's where the heat's coming from. But it's a radiant heat, and everything is absorbing it, so it's a really comfortable heat.
And what's interesting is this mechanical. You're saying because it's coming out of that category, but it's plumbing. Mm-hmm. So it's a crossover of those two words.
It is.
Yeah, it's plumbing. You're pumping hot water through plumbing pipes.
Yes.
Either in your slab or below your subfloor.
Or it can be electrical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Can be.
Yeah. Well, sure. I mean, we do that in bathrooms all the time.
Sure.
The warm wire or the Schluter system wire.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's cost effective to do a whole house with that.
I don't think so, unless you had solar panels and
unless you were a rep for Schluter.
Or rep for warm board.
Yeah.
Well, but warm board is hydronic. It's
hydronic.
It's a plumbing type setup.
So, anyways, that's there again. Mechanical. The word mechanical incorporates heat and incorporates what else? What else is considered mechanical?
So let's save the ventilation part. Let's go to the air conditioning. So most of us are familiar with the traditional split system, right? We have an air handler inside that has coils. Condenser outside the house,
right?
Makes cold air.
We're compressing the gas and releasing that through an orifice, and at that point we're causing the coil to chill, or the reverse side of it, we're heating it up. If we've got a reversing valve, it's a heat pump.
And that's mechanical.
It is. It works in the same way of I think like the computer air dusting, where you dust your keyboard off with the air can. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
You hold one of those very long, it gets cold.
It's pretty cold.
That gas is expanding outside of the can. So the coil works very similar to that in a fixed internal system. We're just constantly recycling that, compressing it back into a gas, releasing it into an expanded gas, and that cycle is what actually makes the cold coil happen, or reverse the hot coil happen.
And it's just moving heat, which is interesting. Like
from the outside. Yeah.
It's even when it's 30 degrees outside, there's still heat in the air. So if you have a heat pump, it's actually pulling the ambient heat out and putting it into the coil. And when you have it in air conditioning, it's pulling the heat out of the air in your house. It's kind of wild to think about it that way, but that's the way all those systems work.
It is. It's transfer of energy. through a source of energy, which is the compressor.
Mm-hmm.
Mini splits have made a pretty big sweep throughout, which is still a split system, just not in a traditional sense.
Not as big and bulky, and it's more. I mean, I can remember back years ago going to these resorts in the islands or somewhere, and you see this big unit on the side of the wall, and it was loud and obnoxious with motorized dampers, and that's a turnoff. You know? But not now. I mean, there's ceiling units. They make actual units that you can add ducting to. So you got your unit here, your split unit, and you want to add a duct over here. You can throw a couple of ducts over there, and the wall units are super quiet.
They are.
Oh, yeah, they're all mostly inverters now, so they don't have that initial jolt of energy to start up the fan.
They have a soft startup, so it's
a lot quieter.
Variable speed compressor.
Yep.
They're wonderful for additions or for a house that maybe wasn't engineered as well as it could have been 25 years ago, and there's a wing of the house that the thermostat's in the basement for the return that's in the attic that nothing really worked, and to completely gut the house out and redo a whole heating system. A nice little mini split for 1,000 square feet over here is just a great solution.
Yep.
What about the window units? What do you guys think about?
I can't hear you. Is it wearing the unit on? It's kind of loud.
Those
or the ones that sit still with the hose that goes out the window.
They're but they're kind of going away because of the mini splits. I mean, Lowe's sells a mini split that a homeowner can buy and hook up themselves now for not much more than a window unit.
Yeah, they were all the rage for all those years. Window units, how funny.
Swamp coolers before that.
Yep. I lived with a swamp cooler.
I remember the swamp coolers. They worked when you stood 3 foot in front of them.
Yes.
And then made the rest of the house miserable.
Yes.
What are those things that they're seeing all over the place at different stores and shops? Big old black fan with water in it. Swamp cooler.
Basically. Porta-cool.
Porta-cool. Yeah, they seem to work.
They do.
Yeah,
they work really great in a big shop because we've got them out at the college on the East Campus out there. And if it gets really hot, late spring, we turn them on.
They take water, huh?
They do.
Or is there a reservoir? Are they plumbed or what?
Usually you hook them up to a hose and there's a float switch in there. And so when the switch kicks on, it's got a tank. So the water's going over the filter and they're just being repumped up. Once the water evaporates enough, it kicks the water source back on and fills the tank up again.
Then you got the new little 5-gallon buckets with all the little battery operated fans now. Those are cracked up. That's a swamp cooler if I've ever seen one.
It's exactly what it is. Swamp cooler.
So back to mechanical, there's the V.
The V.
HVAC, the big V. And that's ventilation, huh?
Ventilation.
The whole subject in itself. It's not just venting the bathroom fan.
Nope.
That's correct.
So that's what we are. You have to vent that for sure. And there's projects you go to and you climb up in the attic and there's 3 fans vented to nowhere. So and that's fairly common.
And I'll tell you, one of the things that is driving me crazy still is I don't want an electrician putting a bath fan in. I want the mechanical guys to do it because they know where they're supposed to go. And they won't put them in backwards. They don't put them in the wrong spot. But because it is an electrical component or an appliance, it's just been here for the electrician to furnish them and to put them in. Well, the deal is the electrician has, 2 wires to hook up an exhaust fan?
3.
Okay, it's got a ground in it. So, but you see my point. They don't always put them in the right place.
No, I would agree.
They just don't do it.
But the mechanical warehouse doesn't sell them. So it's a supply chain issue. You want a fan, you buy it from your electrical supply house.
You do.
So
you're exactly right.
That's why they're not doing it. I mean, if you gave it to them,
we have our electricians supply them, and then our HVAC guys run the duct for it.
Yeah.
And we specify to our HVAC guy where and what orientation we want them.
Exactly.
And they do it.
I mean, that's kind of up to us to make sure that the duct is going somewhere where it needs to go. If it's going to a soffit or whether it needs to go this way to, miss something to go to the attic, whatever it is, that's up to
the other part of that is we may have it in a like a commercial bathroom where we want it to come on when the light comes on and there's not an option, or it may be the other way around where it's a residential bathroom and we don't want it to come on with the vanity lights, but we might want it to come on with the shower lights. And so we coordinate with the electrician of how we want that switch so that it does get used and it's not just
your pet peeve. Let it go.
That's still a pet peeve. No, still a pet peeve.
You got more skin to fry than that one. That one's minor.
But there's still a whole lot to unpack on the ventilation side.
That's what I'm getting at.
So it's not just it's not just your dryer, your fireplace, your bathroom fan. Right. It can be an ERV with makeup air and
another acronym.
ERV. What is it?
Energy recovery ventilator.
Yep. Oh yeah, that's right.
And then
I thought it was exhaust.
We have dehumidifiers and whole home humidifiers, and that all falls into the ventilation.
Ventilation's a big D.
And now we've gotten to this point where the windows are in on this house. It's sealed up. It's watertight. We have a roof on. We have cladding on the outside, and we've built a house the way we think a house should be built these days. And in that order would be a pretty airtight house. And so the ventilation now becomes even more important than it was 40 years ago. Yeah.
Or even 10 years ago.
Yeah, even 10 years ago.
10 years ago.
The houses are tight and people need fresh air.
So we have code now that says we have to have a certain airtightness and so much ventilation.
Right. That is strange when you think about the history of building even 10 to 20 years ago. And now we're counting on mechanical function to be able to get air in your home, to be able to breathe and sleep.
It's very interesting.
Yeah. Well, and here's another part of venting that's tied into plumbing. If you've got a condensing or even a even an atmospheric water heater, you've got to have a B vent. I mean, because if you don't do that, you're probably all going to die in your sleep.
And a TMP that's got to be plumbed in and, plugs around it and lights and all the things.
Fresh air intake and exhaust for the water heaters.
Yeah.
And the furnaces, they're at a high level now, so it isn't necessarily burning the air that's in the home. They're bringing their own air in to burn.
Yeah.
Back when they were burning the air in the home, to be able to heat.
It's pretty much why we don't have floor furnaces anymore. Yeah. House is too tight. I don't think there's ever a house too tight. I just think there's bad ventilation.
Yep.
And bad bringing in the amount of air that you need.
So when your trade partner pulls up to the job site and on the side of the truck it says mechanical, now you know what mechanical is.
Yes.
It's mechanical because it doesn't, they're not changing your oil, they're not doing a tire change, they're doing mechanical work to your home.
Yep.
But what else is in the mechanical category?
Vent hoods.
Oh, sure. And makeup air for those. I mean, there's just so much CFM. I guess you can talk as much as you want to, but you can just break it down to slamming doors. What slamming doors mean? What slamming doors mean to you? Why is a door slamming when you turn your hood on, or when this happened or that happened?
Well, it's a pressure.
It's a pressure
differential.
It's pressure imbalance.
Yeah. So everybody's been to a home where the door slams, and kids jump and you think it's a ghost, or you're watching a scary movie and the door behind you slams.
Oh, but wait a minute. We're going to fix that by cutting the door off an inch and a half.
Right. Or they'll just put a big old hole above the door. Then you hear everybody playing and the kids are playing. So pressurizing and ventilation is important. So we've all lived in homes with slamming doors, and that's what we don't want. So that's part of the whole trick of balancing the ventilation and the pressures.
Which gets back into the design aspect of it.
That's right.
The other part about ventilation is the filter aspect of it.
Yep.
Right. So that's how the whole point of building a home tight is to control the air inside and outside the home. And if we just bring air into the house because we meet a CFM requirement, at that point, we might as well just go back to building with sticks and rocks and have a leaky house.
Yeah.
We're not thinking about energy efficiency and we're not thinking about health as far as the filtration that's involved. So, yeah, you can meet code without doing those steps. It doesn't require you've got to have a HEPA filter in front of that.
No.
EVR should have the filter in with EVR as well.
Correct.
If people, You know, there's an EVR in their home, let alone there's a filter to change.
And
Depends on the builder if he's nice enough to tell everybody how your house works.
Yeah, and I think what we see around here a lot is a duct brought into the return air plenum,
That's it.
and it might have a little, 6x6 or 8x8 filter that will never ever get changed
Because nobody knows it's there.
You know, I was at a home in an attic the other day, and there's exactly what you're saying. There's a roof jack comes into the return air, and this gentleman's his home. He's a pretty cool guy. He's pretty savvy in what he does. And so I kind of was up in the attic and I kicked this big wooden OSB box. And I go, what's this for? And the duct was coming in and going out of there. He goes, I built a big filter box for it. Like, impressive, not bad, for that air that comes in. And there's something else to consider. People don't open windows anymore.
No.
So you're stuck not stuck, but you're in a controlled environment, and you have to have that ventilation, especially in areas that are dusty. And why would you open the window?
Right.
So windows aren't a thing as much as it used to be. Just reach in and open the window, and that's your ventilation. Leave the window open. I like my window open when I sleep. Or cracked about that. No, that's not a thing anymore. So they're tight and they're closed up. The doors, everything is closed up tight.
One of the things I can remember that was pretty funny when I started working for the city in 2014 was we were still having issues with fireplaces belching. And because it did not have enough ventilation, not enough air brought in, and the builder would just say, oh, just crack your window in the wintertime about a half an inch, and it won't do that. And it didn't. I mean, once you cracked it, it was fine.
Sure.
But that's because we still didn't understand what was.
Yeah, and a wood burning fireplace is as nice as they are to sit in front of, and you get the aesthetics and the real look. In the way that we're building houses now, it's almost one of the most impractical things that you can put in the house. And there's several reasons why. One, to keep it from belching, you no longer have a balanced house. You have to have a positive pressure house.
Yep.
The other part about that is when you're burning a fire, and it takes two types of air to burn a fire: combustion air and then convection air. And the convection air is massive. All that warm air is being pulled through that chimney in the house and going right back out to the cold atmosphere. Well, where's that air coming from if the house isn't balanced or overpressured? Well, you're drawing it in through the leaks that you do have. And it's whether you have a tight house or not, you have to draw that air from somewhere. And so it will find a way. All of your perimeter rooms outside of that fireplace are dropping in temperature.
Yeah, they do.
So maybe you've had some warm air right by the fireplace and a 20-foot radius around it. You've potentially dropped the air in the rooms that are around that house by 8 to 10 degrees just because you wanted to have a wood burning fire.
That's an open fireplace.
That's an open
They
fireplace.
make some really efficient wood burning
Stoves.
units.
They do.
Bring in outside air, and
Yes.
so those are really a wonderful way to go.
I
But
sure wish they'd come down in price.
I was just going to say, you took the words right. Not they're expensive.
They are expensive.
They're very efficient, though.
Super efficient.
You can burn
my
2
gosh.
logs for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Or longer than that.
Yeah.
Right.
You put one in up in Dalhart, and I think that one, when I got to reading some of the information on it, you could put 2 or 3 3-inch logs in there. It burned for 8 hours.
I know.
Catalytic burning.
Yeah.
I've done those since the 90s, that particular brand, and it's every time I've done it, it's been a home run.
Yeah. As far as wood burning goes in houses that we're building today, in my opinion, it's the only real solution, but they're expensive.
They are.
And some people still want the fire look. And as much as you have the conversation with them, they'll say, we'll deal with it. We'll crack the window. We'll do whatever.
And you drive around and you see people with stacks of wood at their house.
Yep.
Cords of wood waiting for winter. I'm like, okay. But this isn't really part of that conversation. Electric fireplaces have really, made a turn. They're very popular.
They have.
Now.
They have.
So that gives you that look. You get a little heat. You get some features and some lights and some bells and whistles. So fireplaces are kind of rolling that direction. You can stick them in no time at all. You plug them in. They're a feature in the master. They're a feature.
And that's what they've become as a feature.
Yeah, well, that's what a fireplace is a
feature anyway.
Anyway, I mean, other than if you really want that 20 feet of heat and you want to get that cord of wood and you're all about that chopping the wood thing, that's after it's all said and done, it's just a little feature.
Yeah.
So
And the electric ones put out some heat. It's basically a TV that puts out heat.
Yeah. TV that
which
puts
is
out
cool.
heat,
I mean,
Yeah.
I like them.
Yeah.
You know, and they make them out with the. Stacy knows the name. Some water infused.
Yeah. Vapors.
Yeah, and they look pretty cool. I mean, they're not a fire.
No.
They're a new thing.
But they're also neat to look at because it's a new thing that you haven't seen.
Yeah, no, they're
most
really
people
neat to look
haven't
at.
seen what a vapor fire looks like, and so it draws your attention.
Yeah. So anyway, that's not the thing what we're talking about today, but we're just on the fireplace thing. So I just
but I mean, it's still part of it.
It is, and then you've got gas. Sealed unit gas combustion fireplaces that look like fire because it is fire and supply heat and still require makeup air, but not as much. And
I think the biggest thing when we're still talking about the mechanical or the HVAC or heating and air, however you want to put it, is I still don't think that the duct design is not as good as it should be. And in still a lot of cases, we're still seeing the duct design and the design of the system. They're still, because they're scared to death of the callbacks and they're still getting them anyway. We're going to design this so we put in maybe a half size bigger unit than what we really need. And in some cases, that's detrimental not only to the condenser on the outside of the house, because it's coming on and, it didn't come on but for 10 minutes, but then it came on 2 hours later for another 10 minutes. And if you read the manufacturer's directions on that, they should come on at 15 minutes or more. If you don't, then it reduces the life of that unit. We don't think about that. But if
the cost of the unit,
buy
a bigger unit, just that next size up
when you don't need it. Once you finally get it kicked on and it stays on, it burns a lot less electricity.
With these designs that you're talking about, there is some, obviously computer modeling and some big companies that do good designs. But from what I found on a couple of examples, is that they are bringing up the zip code of the area because they're not necessarily local, and they're picking a temperature rating that isn't reality.
Right.
And you get looking at the design, you look at the small print, and you go, wait. We get those temperatures for 50 days in a row, not 3.
Right.
And so you have to really pay attention to your designs. But I think you're right. That's an area of improvement that's been around since day one that can still get better.
Yeah.
Something that's helped that is the variable speed units.
Yeah.
And I had this thought. I was listening to another podcast who was talking exactly about this, how he designs his houses very specifically. The HVAC in it is made to handle the actual cubic volume of the house and to be very efficient and to be low energy. But once it reaches that temperature, it maintains that temperature and it doesn't have to run very much. And so he had like a 15,000 BTU system in that 3,000 square foot house because it was insulated well and tight. And he gets a call from his customers and they've got this nice big sliding patio door and they're having trouble keeping the interior temperature down. He said, well, I didn't design your house to air condition the outside. So when you have your 45 cubic foot door open, it's going to run constantly. So you have to think about that as well. Maybe you do have a client that's got a slider door leading out to a nice patio that's slightly enclosed and they want that indoor outdoor. Well, maybe you do slightly increase the size of that unit, but you make sure that you're running a variable speed unit so that it's not using it when it doesn't need to, but it is there for when they do have that door open for periods of time and they can still keep their house comfortable. And I think that's something that's not ever really being talked about either.
Probably not.
Yeah, you're right. But when they do, those designs come back and it doesn't say that the door's open 11% of the time.
No. Well, and here we're not going to necessarily leave a door open here anyway. The wind, we do some, but and yes, they do down in certain parts of where we live. we get around Lake Tanglewood and Timber Creek and places like that.
Or anybody that has a pool.
There has a pool. True. Has a pool.
Well,
They're going to leave part of that
Or
open.
they open the door out to the outdoor living, which is enclosed,
Yeah.
but not conditioned.
But not conditioned. Correct.
And so that's a differential. It's
Mhm.
tough.
Mm-hmm.
Mini split. There's the answer for that.
Maybe.
True. A lot of ways it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's supposed to answer for a lot of things for sure, but I don't know that there's 100% perfect answer.
No.
There's not. You just have to, like you said, Joel, you have to consider the client and their needs and how they're going to use that space.
Make sure you're asking the right questions.
Right.
Know your client.
And I guess people have to just understand the reality of what's being built and what can happen. You know, like you had said earlier, we're not building the space shuttle here.
Mm-mm.
You know, it's a home, and we put as many of the great building practices in that we can, but there's a few variables, and that's just not going to be a perfect science.
No.
This isn't going to happen. And people, if they expect something to be perfect and always perfect, that's just not a reality.
Mhm.
Not in building a home. There's too many variables. You can design all you want into them, but there's too many variables. So that's mechanical.
I agree.
So what are the mechanical? I'm resting on mechanical. We can go back to it, obviously, if something pops up with that. I'm trying to think of when that truck pulls up and he's the mechanical guy. He opens up toolbox. What else does he put in? He does everything we talked about. HVAC. He doesn't necessarily do the gas piping. That's kind of a mechanical thing. It comes into the mechanical code, doesn't it?
It does.
So all these items that we're talking about, they need to have some sort of gas, propane gas, natural gas. So there's this whole piping thing going on with that.
Mhm.
That's changed over the years. Not that we need to spend much more time on that, but they got some pretty cool pop together, snap together official piping stuff. It's just awesome.
They do.
Back in the day, the guy would show up with the pipe guy would show up with all the nipples and the threading machine and the 10-foot chunks of pipe, and he would play Lego Man.
And they still do.
Yeah,
They still do.
Yeah.
But there's that's evolved into really. What's that system called? You have to get officially a card carrying guy can do this because you can't even buy the pieces unless you're that card carrying guy for that.
We talking about CSST?
And more acronyms. It's just a really cool gas piping with it.
That's continuous corrugated
Yeah.
stainless pipe.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But this has got the
Continuous
fittings
corrugated
that
type.
snap together and they crimp.
Well, there's a press.
Yeah.
Anyway,
The Pro Press.
no press.
Which is really common around
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
So there's that. That's the other thing that mechanical guy, or it gets done mechanically, whether he does it or the plumber does it. We talked about fireplaces.
Bathroom fans.
We didn't talk much about what an ERV actually does.
No, we didn't.
So an ERV is a ventilation system that takes outside fresh air, crosses it with the path of the inside stale air so that it can pull the temperature difference between the two. It's kind of like going through a radiator. So if it's 100 degrees outside, you're 70 degrees in the house, it'll pull the 70-degree air across the outside 100-degree air, and the new air coming into the house might be 76 degrees instead of 100 degrees.
Right.
And so we're balancing that energy across those two streams of air so that we can recover the energy and ventilate. Hence the name ERV.
ERV. Now we're not cold enough necessarily to use the HRVs,
Yeah.
which is a heat recovery. It's all
Well, and ERVs have the materials that they've used now inside the ERV can go in extremely low temperatures.
True.
So HRVs are almost becoming not obsolete, but they are becoming less and less used throughout the United States for sure. And it all has to do with that honeycomb material that
yeah.
So what's the object of the air coming in is to do what?
it's the makeup air.
Okay.
It's-
So you bring in fresh air because your house is so tight.
Correct.
Mhm.
Correct.
Keep it from getting stale.
And they have good ventilation systems you can put on. You can do HEPA filters and multi-stage filters on
Do they
them.
run
The
24
UV
hours?
filters.
Are they on a timer? What do you know about that?
Some can run all the time at a low speed. Some can be set up to be intermittent.
Intermittent.
Some can be occupancy sensors. So if you walk into certain rooms, it'll kick that room on. They can be tied in with ventilation hoods to supply air for that. Bathroom fans they can take the place of.
That's something you can talk about is the, I guess we just basically hardly touched on it, but with these big 48 and 60-inch ranges,
Yeah.
you got this big giant fan that sucks all the air until your ears pop.
Mm-hmm.
What's that about? And how do you get air back into the house when you're cooking? So that's makeup air.
Yeah, and I've seen those with like a standalone makeup air kit. And there's several brands that make them that kick on only when that vent hood's being kicked on, and they kick on close by so that you're not your air's being supplied close.
Kind of,
so it's
circle in that area.
It's a tight loop
instead of pulling it from the back northwest bedroom.
Yeah,
who cares about that? They're like a little pressure switch.
Yeah.
And then so I think that the code is how many CFM before you need makeup? Is it a little over 300?
I think it's somewhere along that. I don't know that.
So that's something to consider. And most that I don't know if it even gets inspected or even gets. I think that thing gets kind of lost, and it's probably one of the more important things that you would want to do, and it's not really that expensive. So if you're building a home and you're going to be into that big commercial, hood sucking up 600, 1,000, 1,100 CFM, then consider that makeup and ask your builder and ask and do a little research on getting air back in because you have to replace that air.
Well, let's go back to what you said. Why it's important. Say you had a 1,000 CFM vent hood and it does depressurize the building when you use it. Why is that bad on the building? We got a tight building. We're depressurizing it. What's it do?
It makes your ears pop.
Well, no, it does. It can. But on top of that, so we have a tight building. We've incorporated rain screens and all the things now and made this durable building.
We're sucking all that air away.
But
we're not bringing any back in.
We're not a vacuum seal. We're not 100% airtight, and we never will be.
No.
Right? So we have leak points. Now when we depressurize that building, those leak points aren't free flowing in and out. They're only a one-way in, and now we're starting to
bring in dust
and allergen,
water and condensation.
Yeah,
through the dew point and all that.
Yes,
so you're blowing up your building science.
That you just all the work you've done.
You blew it up.
That's right, and so that's why it's so important to make sure you've got a pressure balanced building. Right. You get one part right and you don't get the other, and you've made it worse than we've ever built in history. Sure. Think about it that way. And that's common. That's what's going on.
Everybody's doing the big ranges. I mean, it's hardly even see anything. Any kind of commercial kitchen at all is 4 foot minimum, 6 foot, 5 foot units, gigantic hoods. And I guess on that note, in the world of mechanical and hoods, they sound like an airplane landing a lot of the times. And so there's there's sounds, stones. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Stones. But something I've done a few times, and I seem to really like it, is remote fans. If you can
put it in the attic.
You can put them in the attic or put them on the side of the building if it's right out there or on the roof. And that's a really good way to go. In fact, you can even, depending on your attic, you can do your rough in ducting, throw a plug in up there just in case you finally got a chance to get around and get in that inline unit. And God, I'm sucking 900 CFM and I can't even hear it. We can have a conversation while I'm stir frying. So consider that if you're thinking about, I guess that's part of the V, the ventilation. That's a really good way to go. And people miss that whole thing. The house is perfect, and they go over with this, $8,000 range, and they sizzle, and then comes on, the airplane starts landing, and that's not good.
No.
Everything else is so perfect and so beautiful. So consider your hood as a very important item. It's very important.
The first time we installed one of those remote fans to test it, it was like you push the button and it's like,
wait, is it on?
You got to grab a piece of paper and hold it up there and make sure it's still sucking because it's so quiet you can't hear it.
Right. So that's a consideration. And I don't think it's a big money thing.
No.
You buy the empty shell. It's got the lights and the filters, and it's easier to install. It's lighter and it's a better thing. And then just toss this inline guy
out somewhere else.
Yeah.
So, the only did we even touch on heat pumps?
Briefly, when I was describing the process of refrigeration,
we probably ought to. There is a very large push across the U.S. for heat pumps, and heat pumps have changed a lot in the last 5 years. They have gotten, and we don't do a good job here. Guys are still scared to death. I'm not going to put that set point
Mm-hmm.
to work below 35, 40 degrees. They're not going to do it. When there's a lot of units out there, you can set it nearly zero.
They're
now.
Sub-zero.
Yeah, it's sub-zero. And there are some sub-zero. But I'm just saying,
It's a
living in
market.
Amarillo, Texas, if you set it at 10 degrees, they would work all the time. I mean,
that'd be your primary.
I think the reason
heat.
we don't see so many of them is because the units themselves are significantly more expensive.
They are a little more expensive.
And so you've got the upfront cost. And our energy cost as far as gas goes here
is pretty cheap.
It's among the cheapest in the nation. So it's just as cheap to run a gas unit as it is to run a heat pump.
Gas unit,
and,
AC unit.
Yeah.
Versus heat pump.
But then you don't have the upfront costs. And so it never pays for itself. Unless you're in a region where you don't have gas to your property.
Or you're in a development where there is no gas.
That's where you see them.
Yeah.
And they work great.
They do.
But at that point, you don't have the option to pay for the unit that's less expensive. And so there's nothing driving it from not being installed.
Correct.
I think that's why we don't see them all over the place because they're a great unit.
So aside from the price, something else when it comes to your heat pumps is they now make we did the system last year. They do the variable refrigerant.
Oh yeah.
Units. And I thought that was pretty. So it's been around for a while. It's more of a commercial thing, but we're seeing residentially.
Mm-hmm.
So you have an indoor and an outdoor unit. That's pretty conventional. You got the line set, and that's the refrigerant. That's what we kind of already talked about that. I like that analogy with the spray can. That was pretty good with the air can. I might use that one. But so let's say that you in a bigger home you have more than one air handler. You want to start thinking zonal.
Mm-hmm.
So you have 4 or 5 zonal units, and sometimes you'll go to a house or a commercial and you'll see 4 or 5 outdoor units, and it's obnoxious and costly. Well, now there's a way. There always has been a way, but I'm seeing it more residentially. You get one super efficient 8-ton outdoor unit, and it actually requires refrigerant at a different level for each handler and variable refrigerant. That's pretty cool.
It's pretty slick.
Pretty slick.
Yeah. Daikin, Mitsubishi, LG, I can't even think who all else, but when I get to visit with them at least a couple of times a year, they're getting all of that less expensive. They're getting it to a point that it is going to become less expensive down the road, which is a good thing. I mean, technology will catch up. And I think the variable refrigerant, for part of the explanation that I've been given, I mean, I think 10 years from now, I don't think you'll build a house without it. I don't think.
Well, there's, I don't have specs or anything, but there's been talks about having a heat pump combined for your domestic water heating.
Yep.
And your HVAC.
And your HVAC. Yep. They talked about that too.
You can jump into the heat pump water heaters when we go into plumbing. That's kind of sort of technology.
We'll do a quick cap on electrical. I mean, I think we've kind of covered the basis of mechanical, right?
Yeah.
So we could probably make 3 podcasts on mechanical and 3 on electrical and 3 on plumbing, but try not to bore everybody out there with the nitty gritty details.
Wake me up when we get to sheetrock.
Electrical, what's the big one? What's the big one you see now? I mean, what's the thing that's fairly new that is required?
Starting for January 1st, 2026, your condensers will have to be GFCI. Dryers are already supposed to have been GFCI'd. Some do, some don't.
What's GFCI stand for?
Ground fault.
Circuit interrupter.
Yeah. And then you have the alternating current ASCI.
Arc faults
and
combos.
And they should be doing them, but I still get a lot of pushback, especially out in the
Let's talk about the logistics of we're talking about breakers and those types of items. You think what percentage of the stuff actually works? I mean,
and
you could take a 10-year span here.
I think what occurred and why Texas Department of Licensing and Regulations put it off because it was in the NEC 2023 National Electrical Code to GFCI condensers, but we were still having problems that when an air conditioner kicked on or even some of the heat pumps kicked on, they would throw a GFCI and it would turn it off. Well, they've changed how the motors operate and they have a little softer start that doesn't trigger those GFCIs. So that's, and the guys were telling me when I was in Austin a month ago, most everybody that manufactures, whether it's a entry level type unit all the way up to what I refer to as luxury units, they've pretty much got to the point now where they don't kick them off. So that's why TDLR put it off until January 1st of 2026 is to let the manufacturers catch up.
But I mean, that takes care of your HVAC condenser issue.
Mm-hmm.
But with those breakers, what about all the rest of the appliances that haven't caught up and that may never
variable voltage appliances have a hard time with it.
Yeah, I was going to say variable voltage appliances have issues with it.
I mean, if you want to talk about code, that's one thing in building, and then you talk about practical use. Unfortunately, those aren't matching up.
Sometimes they don't.
They don't match up.
Sometimes they do not.
And so to make a wall oven work, you can't use those breakers.
Nope.
What's an example of a variable voltage appliance?
Like an oven.
Wall oven.
Okay.
Especially if they do
the elements.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, honestly, microwaves, refrigerators, dishwashers, all of them are.
Appliances are having a problem.
Yep.
Having a problem.
Just because they're trying to get more and more efficient.
Well, it was even so when you first started installing GFCIs, like a hairdryer, switching the hairdryer from low to high on heat.
Yep.
And that difference in voltage draw, it would think that there was a problem or a drop in the circuit.
Right.
And so it would automatically throw that GFCI breaker. They have gotten better, and I think that they'll continue to get better.
And I think the GFCIs have gotten better.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's all getting better, but it's not fixed. It's still a thing.
It is still a thing.
Still a thing. I mean, even I finally tracked something down on the house, and what it was is it was a retro. It wasn't a retro. It was a new old. It was the clock radio. The flick. Remember back in the 80s, 70s, the clock radio had the little.
Mm-hmm.
That was blowing it.
What?
Yep.
That's crazy.
I got a vacuum sweeper at the house. It'll kick a GFCI.
But this is like an art fault because it was a bedroom.
Yeah, an AFCI. Speaking of AFCIs, they're still working on them because at 79 feet or longer, they will not work. And it's in the manufacturers. And I go, why do we do it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you have to upsize your wire. What? You got to go from a 12 gauge to a 10 gauge?
No way.
Yeah, that's exactly what it says.
Radio?
No, they're just saying for AFCI.
Who's going to write that check?
But right, that's what Joel's saying. If it's a clock radio that's doing it and the bedroom's 120 feet across, you're going to run number 8. Well, then you can only put one of those in the junction box. Now you're in trouble because you can't loop it anywhere. So they're causing problems.
They are.
Electrical's still a little clunky.
It is.
Anyway,
It
so we don't need to hit that with a stick too much more.
I'm going to beat it to death because I do know somebody who does sit on the NEC board, and we've had conversations. And the island issue with not having receptacles on the end of an island, that's, as far as I'm concerned, they may have fixed one problem, and we've gone back to people plugging in an extension cord.
Why don't you explain that from the beginning?
The
island. Everybody's got
everybody
has had an island has a plug in the end.
Yeah.
Start with that.
Well, we used to do it that way.
It was required.
It was required at one time in a stationary island.
Part of the footage. Feet from here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah, and so what occurred was evidently, I can't say that. Anyway, what occurred was
could
have occurred allegedly. Kids were pulling skillets, crock pots, whatever, off on top of them because they could reach the cord plugged into the end.
And they're
of
playing Tarzan, and next thing you know,
no,
there's,
it's on top of them.
Right.
So they just said,
I can see that.
I can see
clearly
that.
see that.
And I do see that. Then they said, well, you don't have to put one in. I mean, now you just have to, and it's one of the few places that I've ever seen the word future ever used, really, in electrical. For the future,
after we've left as inspectors.
Yeah, I tell guys all the time, I know they're doing it, but, or you put in a pop-up.
Yep.
Or you do a raised bar back.
Yep, you can do a raised bar back.
Plugs back there, which is something I kind of do in my role. I like that look.
Yep.
Some people want that big, giant, flat look without a pop-up. You know, pop-ups are cool, kind of.
Kind of.
You know,
they are.
I think they're kind of cool, but people, if they spend $6-8 on a slab, they're not going to put a hole in it.
Nope.
It's almost overreaching, in my opinion.
It is. Nobody, and if you talk to a lot of the guys that are on the NEC board, I think a lot of them had good intentions, but now they've made it to the point that people are plugging in an extension cord at the back counter and running it across and running it to the island. So,
and when you try to start fixing common sense,
it's no more helmets.
Bad
It's no more kid helmets. There you go.
Well, I mean, maybe they'll put your crock pot on the island. Maybe
Right.
put it up on the countertop where it's next to the plug and it can't be pulled off.
Exactly.
That's a behavior. You can't fix that, but now you've caused multiple issues because you've tried to fix it.
Well, they have shortened. If you'll look at some of the appliances, they are shorter.
Isn't that weird?
They've shortened them. So it makes it a little bit more difficult.
You just got to put it closer to the edge of the island.
It makes it difficult.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what I was thinking.
But it makes it more difficult when you put your plugs in underneath the uppers with lights and those nice little angle wire plugs. That can opener is sitting teetering on nothing because it doesn't. So that whole thing can be revisited another couple more times in our lifetime.
And I think it will be.
They'll change it back and forth. But yeah, so that's what Robert was talking about is the island plug thing. That's relatively new, like brand new.
Yeah.
And so what they're allowing us to do is to pre-wire in the island for those plugs for the future plugs.
Yep.
And then when everybody's all gone, the electrician shows back up and cuts them in, and you get your plugs back.
Yeah. And I tell people all the time, don't
That's
use
exactly
your
what's
regular
happening.
electrician for that. Let somebody else do it.
Anyway, so other than
it was just I think it was exactly what you're saying is we overreached and to me, it's kind of like how we treated lawnmowers. We went to making sure that we put some kind of clutch or something on it that you had to pull. Yeah, an on-off deal because people were wearing flip-flops and cutting their yard and cutting their feet off and stuff like
that. Was pretty good though.
Yeah, I mean, but I have to say a little bit of attrition goes a long way.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say bad parenting or anything else.
You already said that.
I did. Didn't I? Yeah, I did.
Well,
yeah, but we're not going to.
We can't afford an editor. What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? We're just going to throw it out there.
Yeah. In fact,
If the shoe doesn't fit, don't wear it.
Didn't we get pellet shirts we're supposed to wear this time?
Yeah.
Come on now. I thought we got sponsored.
We don't have the
But
shirts.
you know what? We could get in consumer problems and we spend.
And there's
10
consumer
hours.
issues.
We're in electrical. Let's reel back to electrical.
But it goes back to almost everything that is electrical. You know, people say, well, why do we even have GFCIs to begin with? Why do they even make an AFCI to begin with? We've always had breakers or fuses or whatever else.
Just an old fashioned hand disconnect.
That's it. So it was always there to help protect or lessen the point of a fire,
which is
of electrical fire, which is important. So how far did we overreach? I think there's a little bit of overreach there. Yeah.
But you know, technology is technology. Sometimes they don't keep up and they're left hand or the right hand. So I get it. You know, they do the best they can.
Yep.
But aside from that, you know, let's start with if we're talking about electrical, let's start from the very beginning and you know, your feed coming in from either your transformer or or whatever it's coming into, it's now coming into a main disconnect. That's a new thing. Not
kind of new.
It's kind of a new code. I think it's important.
Since 21, I think.
And is that based on firemen turning the power off to the house?
Yeah,
what that was.
Because we have a lot of firemen that will just take a pair of clippers and just, and I mean, they just cut them right there.
Conduit. I mean, it's hard
at the weatherhead. Well, we're talking about overhead. But under you wouldn't. If it's underground, then you're just gonna.
It's still main disconnect. So that's what's interesting, is folks, I've often wondered that is if a burglar's coming and they're going to open your little door, click, they just turn all your power off your house outside. You
can actually, once all the inspections are done,
you
can put a lock on it because, and the fire people,
I can see that, but it's anyway. So now your main breaker is outside your house.
Mm-hmm.
Good, bad, or indifferent. And then what is kind of good about that is that there was enough space in those meters now that you can add a couple outside circuits pretty easy. I think that's a big positive.
That is a big positive.
Rather than having to pre-plan for your landscape circuit or the hot tub, it's boom.
Makes whole home generators easy to install.
Yeah,
it does.
Makes so there's positives all the way around on that. So that's a newer thing. In the world of meters.
And whole house surge protectors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's code.
That's fairly new. That is code.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Since about 21, I think.
Yeah.
So from the meter, we go to the disconnect. From the disconnect, we're going to our breaker panel, and they do have all kinds of innovations on smart panels now that are pretty cool.
Span makes a smart panel.
Oh my gosh, yeah, we can't even go into that.
I don't even want to go there.
The battery backups of the selected usage breakers. I mean, this goes and goes and goes. But so anyways, we got these panels, and it's traditionally let's just say for the average house, a couple hundred amp panel. And then there's branch circuits. With these fancy breakers. Enough said there. Sometimes it's more efficient, depending if it's a long sprawling house, to take a sub panel down to the other side of the house and do branch circuits off of the sub panel. So sometimes you open your breaker box and you'll see a double pole 60, and you go, I don't have anything in my house that runs a double pole 60
or 100.
And then you'll find it somewhere else down the line, another panel with another half a dozen breakers. What else is fancy about electrical? It's been a few years now, but I thought it was pretty cool that they finally came out with colored Romax. Orange and yellow and purple. Isn't purple now? Than
purple, blue,
white.
Well, it's always been white, but anyway. So I thought that kind of stuff is innovative and smart. At one glance, you can see what they're running, and man, that's supposed to be 12. It's white. It's not yellow.
So it's color coded based on the
size
of the wire.
Size of the wire. It used to be it was all white, and you'd have to read 40 letters of UL listed information to finally
see what it was.
To get to the 12, but it was within 6 other letters, and you go, I guess it's 12. So I thought that was really innovative. I like that.
Pretty much that's about.
There's a lot of really cool fastening systems now that weren't there. Make nice, neat runs.
Oh yeah, right. So it's not spaghetti. And
I always think that's important to me. I'm kind of aesthetics behind the wall. Nobody ever sees. If it looks right in that stage, then usually they've taken care and crafted it well.
Yeah,
correct.
And that's maybe 30%.
Make sure we get our nail plates and stuff on.
So what about home automation? Is that something the electrician would be?
Yeah, a lot of it's low voltage.
Yeah,
that's a whole nother category.
Bluetooth.
And in the state of Texas, I don't look at low voltage.
Yeah.
Now they have to maintain. This is the part some of them forget. The wiring method is still the same. They still have to maintain what they're doing with wiring and how often that they secure it and stuff like that. But I don't look at it.
Yeah.
The switching is becoming really neat. Love the different types of switching you can do and what they'll do. And what you're saying, maybe the smart house, smart switching is done so easily now. It was really hard for a while, and your house as per normal changes. So that got really simple, and now you just put a smart switch in, and
you can control it from your phone. And
you can control it from that switch or your phone, and it can. And I guess that you'd have to kind of consider one small aspect is if you want to have just 5 lights in that main room, and then 3 lights in this room. You want to make sure those are on separate switches. Where normally you would put all 7 lights on the same switch, and then now you have a smart switch that operates 7 lights. So a little pre-planning on light layout so you can do the smart switch thing. And there is other.
Yeah, they've gone beyond just the switch and gone to like smart bulbs. So you could have it all on one circuit and control these 3 bulbs and control those 4 bulbs by the bulb itself.
Right. We used to do the circadian rhythm lighting in the last parade house, and a little hub, and it operated the lighting. We changed nothing electrically, nothing switching. That is super normal. And the bulb itself, which would change like the sun, and you could program the bulbs.
Change stuff. Make them different colors, change the dimness and brightness of them. And
you want to watch TV, you got movie mode, boom.
Yep. Nice.
And
blue hue.
And quite honestly, one of the things that has changed is we're seeing more sensor lights being put in pantries, garages, occupant sensor switches.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yep.
Because they're behind a door, they're in a bad spot. Hey, let's just put a motion.
I have a qualm with those, and so you put one in an office and you're steady getting some work, and you're on your computer, and all of a sudden your lights shut off because you haven't moved for 30 minutes. And so those got to be placed thoughtfully, and I don't like the idea of those being pushed on an energy code because of
that is where they're being pushed.
And it should be a use case situation. You put it in a pantry, it makes sense. You open the door, walk in, light kicks off. You put it in an office
or
your
utility room. My wife's terrible,
waving your arms in the chair trying to get
exactly.
That's
but a utility room, a garage, I don't have a problem with any of that.
I guess
the watch tells you to wave your arms.
Yeah,
all tied together.
It is. Soon.
Yep,
it is.
The watch will know when the lights go off. Time for you to wave your arms. You get the exercise, you get to stand. We're all tied in.
You should go work for one of those companies, Joe.
Yeah, but we've been really lucky here. We're like down in Houston and parts of Dallas, even I think parts of San Antonio. There's times during the day you don't have any electricity at your house. They'll turn off an entire development for 2 hours. So we don't have what's called flex lighting.
Blackouts.
I've got a friend that's him and his wife both work from home, and he had to buy the next package up because he couldn't deal with the electricity being turned off at his house for 2 hours or 3 hours. So, but they do a lot of, I found out there's a lot of commercial and industrial applications in that part of the country that, at 4 o'clock in the morning, there may be no electricity going to that building or because there's nothing going on.
They push it all over to charge the cars.
Well, it's not just that, but
don't get me on that bandwagon.
Yeah, don't get me on that bandwagon either. But they just can't supply enough demand. And your daughter was a little bit instrumental in explaining how demand works.
Right.
And
it's almost like she should speak at one of the meetings or somewhere because she has a lot to say.
Yeah, she does. And we tried to get her to Austin, but she had a conflict of interest.
Maybe next time she's very knowledgeable on that.
Yeah. Thing. And it's the demand from that side is going to get higher and higher, especially with all the AI coming in, even with them putting in their own nuclear facilities. But you can't build a nuclear plant in 3 years either.
Right now, what we're talking about is residential construction, electrical work. Where have you drifted off to?
I drifted off to it. But the point being is there may become a time in Amarillo, Texas, where we're on a flex. It could happen.
Sure. Well, I guess we want to talk about that just a little bit.
Sure.
Then what would you do as a residential customer, as a builder, to be able to do battery backup stuff and incorporate that into the home? So maybe you're off grid.
Or a whole home generator.
Or a whole home generator.
Right. So, and that's actually something, if you want to get back into the small parts and pieces of a house, pre-wiring for a gen switch is a relatively inexpensive and pretty smart thing to do.
Especially when you're building one.
Right. And so, there's a pretty good list that I'm sure people can look up, or we can provide with a list of pre-wire options. It isn't just switches and plugs. There's all kinds of cool stuff out there. The gen switch, future AC, because maybe you have an unfinished upstairs.
Right.
And so let's go ahead and pre-wire for the future AC, throw an extra line set in, and we'll catch you later.
Yep.
So there's a lot of stuff you want to get in before the walls. And that's what we're talking about here today, is what's happening before installation of sheetrock, in your residential construction parts and pieces. What other really cool things would you put in behind the walls electrically? If you were just going to say, hey, don't forget to put this in,
I mean, we're already having to put a future in for solar. Right. I mean, we're already putting that in.
But that comes from the new meter-based thing. Definitely throw power in the attic for no apparent reason, but just to do it in a crawl space house, put power in the basement. Could be a sump pump needed, could be who knows what. Future conduits out of the top of the panel.
Well, even
attic, throw a conduit up in the attic.
I was going to say not even necessarily power, but just conduit paths.
Conduit paths, flexible conduits. Smurf tubes, probably for the HVAC a little bit there. But think of the future. The future is really
same with data, cables, Cat 5, Cat 6, Ethernet, whatever.
Sure.
That's always changing. I mean, we've gone from a phone line 20 years ago to, I don't even know what we're Cat 13 now.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's getting out there. But I mean, and a text center, which used to be crammed full, isn't so much anymore.
Nope.
Right. And how many people want home runs versus, hey, we'll just streaming. I don't want to spend that money for that drop. $135 a drop. No, we're just going to get the Fire Stick. So that whole low voltage thing, like you were saying, you can get a consultant and you can spend tens of thousands of dollars, but the basic home that we need to wire to get it done has to have a few trinkets in there. And that's a little interview with your client. For the most part, there's not a lot. I mean,
move it to wireless.
20 years ago, you would put in a super trick, like, cutting edge stuff. You probably put in a mile of low voltage wire, a mile. I've done it. It was just insane. And to power a stack unit that would be big as your furnace, it would do an individual, docking stations. What do we do? A couple of Cat 5s for the office. Everything else is streaming. Maybe an additional Wi-Fi booster. That's what else.
It's time to move on to
move on to plumbing. That's what I think.
All right. Well, that's kind of your expertise. I mean, aren't you?
Expertise is a strong word, but I'll do my best.
Well, I mean, so give us a little bit of the background. Last few years, what you do in the world of plumbing? Because I consider you a phone call, a plumbing guy. So I talked to Ben.
I rep 26 or 28 different lines between plumbing and some lighting brands across all of the West Texas region. So I do have a couple lines. I won't get into the brands, obviously, for potential legal
unless they want to sponsor the show. We can start throwing some
down here. We'll give you the address. Bring shirts.
Shirts and hats,
and we'll talk about your brand
and some dollars.
So I would start with the gas sizing, and we were talking about this earlier. The plumber actually installs the gas lines here.
But they're part of the mechanical code.
They are part of the mechanical code. So it's kind of a weird deal. And I don't know if
Texas Plumbing Board maintain that. So
but kind of back to your background for 1 second. You go to classes a lot. I mean, you're an educated guy. Right? You are, because you always tell me I just had to go to a class on this. I'm going here to learn about that. So you're our kind of our expert on the material side. I'm not saying that you're a plumber.
Definitely not.
Definitely not. But when it comes to the materials and what's brand new, cutting edge, and what's cool, you're the guy. Okay, there you go.
So thank you, Joel. So one thing that I could tell you we've run into is we've got builders bringing in like a 3/4 inch gas line from the main. There's a whole table that if you have a certain length of a certain diameter of gas line, that's going to produce a certain amount of BTUs. If you've got a 5-ton
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sizing chart.
Sizing chart.
Right. So if you've only got even a 1-inch gas line, but it's 100 feet from the meter, you're not going to even have enough gas to run a furnace and a tankless water heater. So we run into issues with the gas sizing not being right, and it creates an issue with the tankless water heaters. The brand that I rep is a negative pressure, so it's actually going to suck the gas. So if you've got your furnace going and your stove going, and they're all coming off of the same regulator, it's going to snuff one of the other appliances out because it's taking precedence on producing hot water.
Yeah.
You can mitigate all of that by having an appropriately sized gas line. So depending on the what all you're going to be running, and this all goes back to the planning aspect of it.
Well, so let's talk about that, because you brought up a really good point about sizing your gas.
Mm-hmm.
So who does the sizing, the plumber or the mechanical contractor? Who does that chart sizing?
The plumber.
Okay, so once he's sized that, does he turn it into a jurisdiction for review, or what happens in this territory? Because I know in other jurisdictions,
they don't turn it in.
has to be turned in.
Nope.
And it has to be stamped
Mm-hmm.
and returned. And I've had numerous ones get kicked back, said, that's not going to fly. Have them redo it. Send me another
Nope.
one.
Yep.
Nope.
So there is no check and balances then. The plumber sizes it and we hope for the best.
And they're worried about their water heater. They're not worried about with the HVAC.
Right. Okay.
No.
All right, so we'll continue on. I just wanted to touch base on that.
Oh, you're good.
There is no checks and balances on that sizing chart, if you will.
So
That's too bad.
and it's made it difficult. I mean, there are a lot of benefits to going with the tankless unit over a standard tank unit. You're going to get more hot water, unlimited hot water, basically with a tankless unit, but it uses 199,000 BTUs, whereas your 50-gallon gas unit.
Acronym again.
BTU is British Thermal Unit,
Mm-hmm.
and it is the measurement of how much energy it takes to take. I think it's one
gallon.
1 gallon.
1 gallon of water, 1
1
degree.
degree. So, and that goes into the tonnages of HVAC and stuff. But so at any rate, like a 50-gallon gas unit is going to be running off 38 to 36,000 BTUs.
Mm-hmm.
You're significantly increasing your BTU load going to a tankless in a retrofit situation. If you don't have a big enough gas line, run into this with the city of Amarillo. They're not going to pass it. So, which is understandable. I mean, because then you're going to be starving out other appliances.
Right.
So I think the solution, especially with how big some of our lots are, go ahead and get the most gas you can, as close to all of your gas appliances as you can.
And put a regulator up
And
by
then,
the house
and then
too.
regulate it.
Yeah. You can run a 1/2-inch yard line, turn your pressure up, and regulate by the house,
Mm-hmm.
and reduce the cost of the yard line and get the pressure that you need. That's one way to mitigate. The other way is you run a 1.5-inch gas line as a yard line, and
Step it down.
Step it down as you
Mhm.
need to. There's
That way you
a
get the volume.
branch method measurement.
Yep.
There's the appliance. There's two different ways to size. I can't remember off the top of my head, but one of them has to do with the branch method. One of them has to do with actually sizing the appliances for your gas needs. But yeah, I think that's probably overlooked a lot.
It is. It's
And
overlooked.
just like you said, because the plumber doesn't really care what heater's going in there.
And unfortunately, the busier we get as an inspector, I don't have time to go, well, to begin with, I don't know what you're putting in for the water heater.
Yep.
I don't know what size you're putting in for the furnace, especially out in the county. I'm not furnished any of that.
Yep.
I have no earthly idea. Oh, you got I can't say that. A commercial gas 48-inch stove going in that may take 100,000 BTU to operate the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden,
More than that.
yeah, it's probably more than that.
And then,
But my point being is it's left up to the plumber
that's tough.
to get that right. And, the
And
best.
that's what you do as a builder. You just tip your hat to the plumber and hope it's right.
No, I'm usually helping the plumber size that stuff and pay attention.
But most builders don't.
I'm also a licensed plumber, so
Yeah.
So you have a home court advantage.
yeah.
on that.
Yeah.
But I mean, then as a builder, you get the phone call that the big 60,000 BTU unit on your $10,000 range isn't boiling the water as fast, or you get that not such a big house with this big commercial stuff like that. The fireplace, the fire is only this high.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we saw the picture, we saw the video. There was a flame this high. Mine's only this high. What up? You know, so yeah, that's a really good point, and it's it's that ship is long sailed. When the time comes, you get that phone call. You're
the unfortunate
in the wall. It's in this. It's gone. You can't fix that. Landscape's done. So that is a very good point, Ben.
Well, and it also comes down to back to venting to an extent. I talked about it briefly on a condensing unit, or even a non-condensing unit. Makeup air and the B vent and all that. That's another thing that a lot of folks don't take into consideration. You really on a tankless unit, depending on you have to have. I want to say it's 700 cubic feet of makeup air available for that unit to run at peak efficiency. Otherwise, you're going to start having really rough combustion or rich combustion, which is going to shorten the length of the.
Doesn't it bring its own combustible air in?
If you use a concentric on a condensing, which a concentric is penetration on the outside of the house that spits the exhaust outward and then pulls fresh air in from behind it. So for combustion air. So it's all these gas appliances are effectively a little engine. You're not going to have a running engine if you don't have enough air to make right combustion. And it defeats the purpose of putting in a high efficiency unit, which the ones that I represent are, I want to say 0.98 UEF, which is universal energy factor, which basically is 98% efficient. So for every dollar you're spending on the energy source, gas in this case, you're getting 98% or 98 cents back in actual heat. So, and that's, you can find the UEF on HVAC equipment as well. So.
Yeah, and I still have guys that's even in a spray foam house, they're trying to pull some of that combustion air and some of that out of the attic. Absolutely not. It will not work,
especially when they're as tight as they are.
Yes,
there was it was really, really hot this is down in South Texas with some of my other coworkers. They had tanked water heaters in the attic, which thank God we don't do here. But the attics were so tight, the pilot would go out. It would burn all of the air because the air was less dense because it was so stinking hot in the attic. So that's luckily something we don't have to worry about so much here because of our placement of the heaters.
And they don't do power lights anymore.
Yeah, they're concealed.
So
that's the gas line, and then we have water, and we have showers, and we have faucets, and we know about manifold systems and recirc systems. We know about all that.
They've got they've all got their pros and cons for sure.
Plumber's going to plumb the house.
Yes.
What's the two most popular ways to just plumb the water line? Because the homeowner comes in and sees, now they see red and blue lines, which is cool. It used to be all white.
Yeah.
And they see these lines.
Or copper.
Yeah.
Or galvanized before that.
Yeah, galvanized before that.
But I'm just talking about
CPVC.
Oh my God, that lasted 2 minutes, didn't it? Yeah. So anyways, what's the popular way we'd see on new construction?
I mean, it's obviously going to depend on the house.
You're telling me about this on the system that just came out with special tooling. That's the best of the best now. You're trying to have your contractors buy.
Oh, the mana block. Or are you talking about the press, the press fittings?
Pro press?
Well, it's Viga Pure Flow press.
Yeah.
So all this plastic goes together, and how's it held together?
It's a stainless steel crimp ring, effectively.
Okay.
On a polymer, whatever fitting, if it's a 90 or a T or whatever. But if you were to do a expansion or just a regular crimp fitting, you can actually rotate that fitting inside of the pipe, even after it's crimped or expanded.
That's not a good feeling.
Well, it's super handy on installation.
It can be.
Oh, sure.
The press system is so strong that you literally can't. Once it's pressed, you're not changing the direction of that fitting.
This is all plastic pipe stuff.
Yes, sir.
I see. And that's what everybody's going to see.
And it's
these days.
PEX, which is it's polyethylene cross-linked.
Cross-linked.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And there's a bunch of different ways that companies will cross-link it. There's a chemical version. There's a heat version.
There's molecular structure of this thing.
Yes,
correct.
Yep.
There's non-cross-linked.
Yeah.
PERT.
Legend.
Polyethylene something. I don't know. I don't remember PERT's acronym.
Is that still available? Or
Pert's what I use. So Pert's expandable, and when you roll it out, it doesn't have the memory, so it doesn't coil back on you. But it's essentially like a PEX A without the memory.
And PEX A just means that was the first way that PEX was made. It doesn't mean that
it's the expandable version.
It is expandable.
PEX B is not.
But we've tried actually a couple of them. We have not, the brand that I rep, we have not done the testing, but we have tested it in-house. It expands just fine.
Yeah, and PEX B will expand too. It's just not warranted by the manufacturer.
Exactly.
What's the advantage of it expanding? It's a freeze thing?
Well, it can be essentially thought of that way, but it's the fittings.
It's the fittings more than anything.
Some fittings require the PEX to be expanded to apply.
To get the fitting in, and it gets...
Yeah, and the reason they went about that is to not reduce flow, which is what's good about the Viega press system, their pure flow system. But
it's well, I don't want to get into trashing other manufacturers.
Can't do it.
I'm not. I'm just saying that we've tested we've tested our system, and the reduction in flow because the size of the fitting is slightly smaller than the pipe is less than 1% on a shower, a kitchen, or a lavatory, and less than 5% on a tub filler.
Yeah.
So something if you're filling up a 50-gallon tub, you're not going to notice that extra 30 or 40 seconds it takes for it to fill up. So because all the water in the house
it's being
filling through,
and it's being restricted already through shower heads and 3/8 lines.
So at any rate, I don't want to harp on that, but
so as far as how houses are plumbed, you got the standard plumbing. The plumber just kind of hook these from one spot to the next, and there's a manifold system.
We got underground, above ground.
Yeah. And there's a way to run a loop so you can get the hot water close.
Mm-hmm.
So people aren't waiting. It's more of a convenient thing that way. They make little water heaters underneath the
Point of service.
The point of service water heaters.
You can do auto boost. You can do a booster on the top of a electric tank. There's so much.
Well, so why don't you just tell us how you would plumb your house?
I would. And again, it all depends on the case by case. But the company I rep has a product called ManaBlock, and it basically you would attach a PEX line to, and you can get these up to 36 different ports. And you would have a hot water and a cold water home run to each fixture. I personally would do it overhead. You have no fittings
because you can repair. You can get to it.
Yes.
Not buried it in concrete.
Yeah.
Correct.
Gotcha.
And then it gives you the ability, okay, my faucet over here is leaking. I can go to that manifold, and if I'm smart enough, I labeled it, and I can turn off that fixture, go fix said fixture, and then turn the water back on.
And not lose water to every other
water
fixture.
everywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
So if
you can't do that with angle stops.
You can, but if you're having to replace the angle stops or in a shower trim, that's where it really makes sense.
Another thing is if you do it with angle stops, then you've got 27 angle stops versus one block. So you got one device versus 27 devices that could fail.
Yeah.
And connection points.
Points.
Gotcha.
So that's the main advantage to the manifold system.
What do you call something block? What's your brand?
ManaBlock.
ManaBlock.
And it is by Viega. I'll see if I can get them to sponsor an episode.
You have to now since you
I know.
let it out of the bag.
Mhm.
So so if this is up in the attic, then it has to be a conditioned attic. You can't insulate the whole metal block, or does it have some sort of way to insulate this?
No,
you can't have it in an unconditioned attic if you want to go overhead. The whole thing's going to freeze.
well, you'd have, it'd be running through, maybe blown in insulation. You could have chases, basically keep it in
Conditioned.
You're not gonna dig it out and blow
Yeah,
it.
you would never run the water lines outside of conditioned space anyways.
Yeah.
But if you had an unconditioned attic, you could do chaseways.
But the other benefit of, there's the benefit to not having any fittings in the attic is PEX. If it does happen to freeze, which it's only really going to freeze if you lose power and you're not heating the house, because that heat's rising. You've got, if your house is 70 degrees, you're still going to, if you're close to the ceiling, it's not going to freeze unless you lose power. PEX will expand up to 5 or 6 times its diameter.
Oh my gosh.
If it does actually freeze.
Yeah.
That's why your failure points in a freeze are typically the fittings.
And then if you use this manifold thing,
then you don't have any fittings in the ceiling.
well, you must have not in the ceiling, but when you do get to your fixture, there's not an angle stop, but there's a transition.
So you could put an angle stop if you wanted.
But if you don't want to, there must be still a transition fitting to be able to get to your faucet line, to your flex line. So
yeah, there's
a billion ways to do that. I bet. Exciting. Well, so if you did this mana block thing, then how do you incorporate a recirculation system with a mana block?
There's not a way to do it with the mana block system. That is where you'd have a more traditional setup where you would have a hot water loop with either an aquastat to measure the temperature of that loop that would kick on the heater and pump.
That's what I was going to say, an aquastat.
I've seen them that are on just a timer, and I've seen them that are motion activated. So,
Sure.
Or push button.
Or push button, yeah.
I've seen them where I've done them where they're motion activated. So you have them in the bathroom at 2 a.m. The guy goes, you have to go in the bathroom, boom, it sees you. By the time you wash your hands, it's hot. But so that's not part of the manifold system. It's just no way to do that.
No, it's
two separate systems.
Yes,
I see.
So, and here's another aspect that I've learned. Most of the time people are running 1/2-inch diameter packs everywhere. That's not an insignificant amount of water to move. You can actually save water by dropping that down to 3/8. Just a random little fact.
Yeah. So in the case where you don't have a recirc on your manifold and we're used to a 1/2-inch water run into a bathroom faucet, that might be 2 full minutes from where your water comes in the house and heats to the bathroom across the house.
Yep.
You cut that down to 3/8 and you might be 15 seconds. I mean, it is a pretty significant difference. And so it does cut the use of really wanting or needing that recirc system down quite a bit.
Help you on a shower head. You're not going to cut down a shower head in 3 days.
No, you're right. You're right.
You're still waiting on the shower.
But the shower head, because it has more volume coming out compared to the sink, also doesn't take as long as the sink does to deplete that cold water out of it.
So are you a fan of recirc or not? You're a plumber. You're carrying plumber.
I do. I like a recirc system. It depends on when we ask a client why we almost always install on-demand water heater, and we put it in the attic. We save space. It makes it fairly easy to work on. You're not in a small closet trying to work in there. You can have a big attic that you access all sides of it. We want to run our water lines overhead. I've always said that even if we do have a leak at a fitting in an attic space and it damages sheetrock, that sheetrock is way more costly effective to repair than it is when we have to jackhammer a floor.
Yep.
So I've never really been concerned about the leak aspect of it because it's way easier to deal with. If you're doing remodeling or additions, it's way easier to tie into. So you've got that access point that you can cut back into a water line, take it where you need to. And then I asked the homeowner, do you like the idea of the tankless saving you money, or do you like the idea of the tankless supplying endless hot water? If it's the endless hot water question, then we usually will follow that with, let's do a recirc. If it's the saving money issue, then we usually won't put in a recirc. And they'll just understand that I've got to wait 15 seconds for hot water at the shower, the faucet, or whatever it is on this side of the house, and maybe only a few seconds on this side of the house.
Or getting back to the design, if you're not getting the water here in the middle.
And that's a really good point, and you have the ability to do that a lot more. So when you place that in the attic, you got a lot more room to move that water heater around.
So that you're dividing that time a little better, so you don't need that.
Or maybe you use 2 smaller water heaters, and one does this side of the house, and one does that side of the house.
But what are those things under the sink all about?
So there's a couple different. They're just electric, either small tanks or they're electric tankless units. The only time you really need that is if you've got like your kitchen sink is a mile away from your water heater. You would plumb in the hot water line into cold water tank, and then because it'll be cold coming in until it gets hot, and then it's just filling up that tank with hot water that you have, so it won't kick that on anymore. That's the most efficient way.
So there's no special plumbing needed. You can retrofit those
as long as you have a plug.
As
long as you have power back there, that's not connected to your garbage disposal switch.
Sure.
So, but no, they're great for hand washing kind of situations. They're not super common in a.
They're not a new construction thing.
Not really. Okay. They're going to be more of, if it was properly designed new construction, you're not going to have a mile of PEX before it gets to your kitchen sink.
So there's nothing in the world of efficiency to run a half a dozen of those versus a combination with a smaller water heater for the showers, or is there anything in that world that's something?
You have to design around a tankless electric house. They are technically 99% efficient because it's literally only going to heat water when it's energized, when it's catching or sensing flow. So that means if you have to put a 36,000 kilowatt or 48,000 kilowatt or 4,800 kilowatts, excuse me, on one wing of the house that handles the kitchen and laundry and master, and then you've got another one on the other side of the house that handles another set of plumbing fixtures, that makes sense, but you're going to have to run a lot of wire to it.
Big wire,
big diameter wire.
Electricals.
So it's going to change your electrical and it's going to change your electric bill. So where we're at with our water temperature incoming at about 57 degrees, the delta that it's the temperature change it's trying to hit, if you set that thing at 110, that takes a lot of power.
Well, and that 57 is probably your yearly midpoint average, because
56.1 is our mean average.
We get up to 72 in the summertime, and we get down into the mid 40s and low 40s in the wintertime. And on electric, when you're used to that water getting to 120 degrees, most of those, I don't know, some of those might have like a restriction. There's either two options. It's either going to restrict the water to where it only comes out at 120 degrees, or it's not going to get it to 120 degrees when it gets there. So your hot water might be 95 degrees and full flow, or it might be very little flow and 120 degrees.
Yeah, there's so many different configurations for those. We see them used more in commercial for eye washing, hand washing stations.
Hand washing stations.
Just real niche. Not really in our climate region, not really a great solution. In Florida, you'd run a whole house on one unit because you're coming up with 80-degree water.
And you could probably run them in Houston, no problem either.
All day long.
Yeah.
So
that covers hot water. What about fixtures? Well, you gave me this big shiny catalog when you walked in. And so is there a big difference in fixtures other than the look and the polish?
So there actually is.
Valving and sizing and
the
material.
Valves are the biggest difference. Again, I'm not going to get into the brand, but our Rough In valve is universal. So you put in and
a certain brand Rough In valve, you can put all the different discussions and dancing handles.
If even if you're in the middle of the planning stage and you're at the rough out, or you're roughing everything in, you put that valve in, and then the customer changes their mind, say, or goes to a lower tier or a higher tier product. You put that cartridge in, because the cartridge doesn't come with our valve.
Right.
Some of our competitors do. So you can change that out to any style that the company that I rep makes. So it's
so there's a difference in valving.
Yes. And you're going to have Rough In valves for Roman tubs. You're going to have Rough In valves for wall mount faucets.
So stop at the Roman tub thing for a second. And this is probably a question for you.
I know where this is going.
Well, you got two valves or a single valve. What's the whole anti-scalding thing, and what's that all about?
Yeah, there is a thermostat valve that limits water to 110 degrees for a two handle. Single handle already built in.
Yeah.
So if it's two handle, it needs to have this thing.
And
it
goes in.
They hide it somewhere in the vanity or what have you.
Yep. Hide them in the vanity. Still having issues sometimes.
So the homeowner, if you're not getting hot water or something that's not quite right, look for a hidden valve somewhere that's adjustable so you don't burn yourself.
Yeah, it just goes to 110.
Oh, that's as high as it goes.
And then
as high as it goes.
I can't remember the numbers, but there's two versions of most of these thermostatic mixing valves. One will fail open and one will fail closed. So one will allow hotter water. If it fails, it allows the hotter water to pass through. One of them will not let any hot water come through.
Right.
I can't recall which version.
That'd be a massive failure if you're letting all the hot water come through. And
I mean, it defeats the purpose of
Yeah.
I guess that's a failure.
The biggest issue that I hear out in the county is just because we don't I still don't see a lot of filtration systems put in, so they're running out of the well, and that valve or thermostat that's in it tends to get sand and water hardness in them. And so one of the things that I make sure people understand is at least once a year, crawl underneath there and turn it 2 or 3 times, and then turn it back to 110 and let it go and let some of that sand and stuff work its way through.
Yep.
So I don't know. Yeah, they're a little bit of pain in the butt, but at the same time, and when you have a child that gets scalded, then everything comes to a halt, and mama comes unglued, and she's looking to blame somebody or whatever.
If it's a single handle, like in the shower, it mixes the water, and if it goes off to one side, it's not going to be any more than the 110.
So
if they're set
on a tankless water heater that the temperature can be adjusted,
can be.
Can you get away with not having a thermostatic valve?
Aware of. Well, yeah, I guess you could, as long as you could prove that tankless.
You set it at 110 and walk away, and there's no thermostatic control valve. Then it's up to the home. Then it's up to the homeowner to decide if they want to.
Yep.
Burn the kids or not.
Yes, to burn their kids.
You're grounded tonight. You get to go to the tub at 115.
I'm turning it up.
I'm turning it
If I hear another word, it's 117.
Yeah.
Right. Used to be the wooden spoon. Now it's the temperature, the water temperature.
You know, we kind of make fun about that, but me being a Shriner, and I support Children's Shriners hospitals, and we probably have the best burn facility in the world. And we've responded to different places around the country and around the world on burns and things. And I can tell you, I can't go through that hospital because I can't see the burnt flesh and I'm not going to get any more than that. But when children get burned, it's a little different than as an adult gets burned. And it's not good, I can assure you.
So we'll leave that alone. But yeah.
Well, I mean,
I know. I mean,
y'all brought it up, not me.
No, I'm saying that the scalding thing. I brought it up because
it's definitely
super important.
It is
I want to make sure that we because actually, you know something. When those valves go in the shower and that house is plumbed and done, and you get your final inspection, 9 times out of 10, your homeowner calls and says it's not hot enough. At the factory, aren't those set? You know, the shower valves with a little pick them up and move them different. You know, they're not set hot enough.
Like on a shower trim. There's a couple different, like the main one that everybody puts in from my brand is not. It's not dumb it's pressure balanced. It doesn't have any way to regulate the temperature. So if your tankless is up at 140 and you don't have a thermostatic mixing valve ahead of that, it's gonna
be at 140.
We do offer one that is a thermostatic, and it works by some.
One time I like to stop on the hot side.
You can adjust that as well.
Yeah, I mean that doesn't come. That comes backed off. You know,
the plumber has to install.
And that has to be installed. So the plumber's the one that actually sets that for you. It's not even preset. It has to come apart to be installed, and so wherever they place it is where it's at.
Right, and I don't know that they're probably covering themselves as well because it's most of the times I'm moving it because it was hitting the stop before it was enough hot water.
Yeah,
every time.
I've seen that.
So, and then as far as efficiencies and flow, I mean, and everything's is everything giving us less water? I mean, it seemed like I remember back in the day, you're in a shower and you're getting pushed across the shower stall with all this pressure. That's not a thing.
Yeah. So there's most of our most faucets across the board, and shower heads for that matter, they're going to be regulated internally by a basically an aerator that's in the looks like a little filter. You're going to have like a 1.75 gallon per minute shower head.
Max.
Or you can get 2.5, but I think it has to be classified as a rain can. But the innovations that have happened in showering, which is a weird thing to think about showering being an innovative deal, the manufacturer has made basically little chips, not computer chips, but little plastic deals, and it aerates the water, so it makes it like if you take a shower with just like in a hotel shower where it's just like a cheap shower head and you can't change any of the settings or anything, it's just little streams of water. This technology it adds air into the water, it adds movement into the water, so it's not just a solid stream. It's
feels like more.
It feels like a lot more water is hitting you. And it adds pressure to
high tech water.
Yeah, basically.
I see. Right. But as far as the rough in and all of the valving, we're restricted.
It's restricted. It's going to be restricted by the cartridge. Either the stem in the faucet or the
so running a 3/4 line in your showers not make any difference.
That depends. There's
if you have a multiple setup, that does for sure.
Well, yeah, but if you're going to do diverters to body sprays, I get that. But
there's whole different systems for that.
Right.
And we've now got digital shower controls that are, made for 3/4 inch inlets for a really luxury shower with steam. You can have up to 6 different fixtures on that one digital shower control. It's all Wi-Fi connected. This is some of the really cool stuff that's coming down the pipe.
I probably might want that.
We do need to talk about it.
Cool.
And you. So yeah, it's your restriction on the water flow is always going to be at the actual fixture because you're sending
the valve
or the valve. Well, it's
in the
shower fixture. Yeah.
Basic valve.
Yeah.
Shower stuff.
Because you're sending, you're hitting 50, 60 psi of water up against what you're opening up gradually might end up being only a 3/8 inch hole in a shower, and then in a faucet, it's probably 1/4 inch. So the aerators are where you're
getting the feel.
Yeah, it changes. It's it's a stream straightener. It's taking a smaller amount of water, spreading it out, making it more efficient, which we definitely need up here, especially if the AI data center.
So, you think about it, a water hose sprayer, right? You've got the Gardner shower. It's not a real hard stream, but it's a lot of water. Yeah.
We went from the spray can, cold spray can, and now we got the.
Yeah. Or you got the jet stream. It's the same amount of water going through, but at 2 different pressures and 2 different feels. And that's what they're doing with the technology on shower head.
Yeah. The dog loves the jet stream.
Chasing the jet stream. Yeah.
So we want to talk about toilets. You got everything coming in. You got to get it out.
Fair enough. When we were at the Builder Show a couple of years ago, we all had to wipe our feet off and step into the luxury $22,500 Toyota toilet. We all had to touch it and see it and feel it and hear the pitch. And then over here at the Home Depot or wherever we're going, Lowe's, what have you, you're $149. Yep.
That's a big variable.
Well, but what are you getting for the Toto?
Well, that's what you tell me. What about toilets?
So,
it used to be that they would flush for 20 minutes. Now it's how many gallons? 1.5,
1.28 in the state of Texas.
Now,
yes.
huh?
Yeah.
Each flush was 1.2. Then they have the ones where the more flush, less flush. The 1 over 2.
Yep.
Flushers. And so toilets, it made a big jump as well.
Yep. Yeah.
You get to some old warehouse, some old school toilet, and you go, gee. And the whole world goes in there,
The lights dim.
Everything. So, anyways, you want to talk about toilets for about 5 minutes or 2 minutes?
So there is actually a lot of innovations. They've kind of been copied. It happens in lighting too. Somebody comes out with a really good looking fixture, and then all of a sudden, every brand has it. So what we're seeing is a rotational flush is becoming really popular. Some are
bowl cleansing.
Yes. Tornado flush, whatever you want to call it.
They always have it rotated?
Well, it rotates, but it's just downwashing instead of, so these jets come out counter rotating and spins down.
Take a closer look.
And then
the normal rotation was the hemispheric rotation.
Right.
You're right.
And then in Australia, it goes backwards.
It goes backwards. That's correct. Right. But now they're assisting that rotation with the directions of the jet.
Changing the laws of physics and Mother Nature.
They're
Right here on your toilet. In
That's-
your house.
yes.
Tornado toilets. Okay.
And
Thank
then
you for that.
And then you've got innovations in the trapway, believe it or not, where Toto in general, or generally speaking, all of their toilets will have a siphon. Whenever you get that first little
It's a nest trap.
through, and it will pull everything out of the toilet. You actually will hear a slight
So that's
suction
why it
noise.
uses less water because it siphons, it sucks it
Yes.
right out.
Correct.
It's an extremely
Nice.
efficient way to do it. And then all the innovations. This kind of goes back to electrical. If as a higher end builder, bidet toilet seats and neo rest or bidet,
That's the thing.
they're starting to become more popular. Maybe not so much in West Texas.
COVID helped a lot with that, with all the toilet paper shortages.
Yes.
I'm doing a remodel right now, and I just told them I'm going to put a plug in.
Mm-hmm.
And they went for it, I go, because you might definitely someday want a seat.
Yep.
Well, that was 2 weeks ago. They want a seat.
Mm-hmm.
We're not even in sheetrock yet, and they did a little research. I had that seat.
Yep.
So, and I get it.
It is actually. I travel a lot, obviously. I have.
You bring your own bidet seat with you?
I wish I could. It's a little
I'm
tricky.
with you. I get it. If my wife, if you pack it up and I could do on quick release,
Mhm.
have it out in the hotel.
It's but it is something that people aren't super comfortable at talking about. It does save on tissue. It is, if you
It's healthier.
it is.
Mhm.
It is. You don't, if you step in some dog dirt, you're not going to just wipe your shoe off with toilet paper and call it good. You're going to rinse it off. So kind of an uncomfortable thing for people to think about.
That's a very good description.
Mhm.
Good way to put it.
So it's starting to become more popular in the market though. Trying to think what else. The China, especially on, that's something you can tell. So whenever they're curing this China, those toilets are like twice the size, and then they shrink down to the actual size. So there's actually a lot of engineering that goes into that. The denser China, I will say that Toto has a they test their stuff to extreme standards. So there's a minimum weight on a wall hung toilet that you have to be able to support at the middle of the bowl.
What would you guess that is?
You get
300? 300?
750,
750.
and that's in the middle of the bowl.
And that's the engineered rating, so we're probably good for like 2,400 pounds.
That's only if you attach the wall kit correctly.
Yeah, your carrier system has to be
Yeah.
right. But what Toto did is they actually extended the bolts out from the wall, so it's just bolts basically, and then put 1,000 pounds on the very edge of it.
Oh my gosh.
No issues.
So what we're talking about is a wall hung toilet versus a toilet sitting actually on the floor.
Which are also becoming more popular
They are
because
coming, yeah.
it's a cleaner, again,
It's easier to clean the floor. It better look.
Yeah.
Some people don't like them. Some people like them. So.
But that's just a testament to the quality of their actual
all the
Pinterest
innovation
China.
of toilets since the beginning of toilets. Why are they still China? Why are they still porcelain? Why aren't they a
It's-
composite? Why are they still the same product?
There have been composite toilets, but China is just stouter and it's a lot easier to keep clean.
Okay.
So, and especially with some of the technology that's in these toilets, they've got super slick bowl surfaces. Like you look at them under a microscope and it's flat as can be, whereas you look at the outside of the bowl and it looks like a mountain range because it's got a lining on the inside to make everything keep sliding off.
So that's toilet.
it's like the bottom of the sled on Christmas Vacation. Super slick.
Right. I was thinking stuff myself. When you said that. I wasn't going to go there. So we got the toilet thing down. Anything else about toilets necessarily?
You got,
They got the elongated. They got the comfort height. That's something to consider.
yeah, you got hidden
Yeah.
tank. Hidden tank.
Yep, you got in-wall tank. There's
But they all, other than the bidet world, they kind of all do the same thing.
Mhm.
Cool.
you got different types of flappers too, or
Plunger.
flappers and pistons.
Mhm.
That.
Oh, they got pressurized ones too.
Yes, they've got
Wow,
those.
those things work good, don't they? Called whammo.
Yep.
And how do they work? Is there a little? There's not electric. There's no compressor.
It's actually got a pressure tank inside of the bowl, or not the bowl, inside of the tank. And
How does it re-up?
that I don't know. I don't.
Osmosis takes it from the air back to ventilation. They ventilate the toilet.
It's
it
the
just
same
take-
thing with a urinal.
I think it's using the pressure of the water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The 50 or
Instead of-
60 psi of
Yeah.
water. And that's what's repressurizing that cylinder. And then it's I think it's a piston action, if I'm not mistaken. So water stops, the 50 to 60 psi water pushes the piston backwards, the bowl fills whatever, and then that piston injects that 50 to 60 psi back into the.
You ever see much of those residentially?
Not so much. No, I don't.
Yeah, not resident.
I see it in
seems like
hotels.
other than the noise factor, it seems like you would see them residentially. Throw them in a powder bathroom, and when you have guests over, you've always got a clean bowl. But
Okay. So, what else do we want to talk about? Plumbing. We got the behind the wall stuff. We got the research. We talked about your Manajet machine, whatever you called it.
The mana block.
Block. We talked about water heaters a bit.
We could talk about the hybrid water heaters.
Sure. We didn't talk about the hybrid water heaters.
So it's kind of a new innovation. I say
We're
that
out of
it's
time.
not new.
We're out of time. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, I do.
No, this,
I do got to jump, but we can get more into that at another time. And
I think once we complete the build, we'll have a lot of special topic podcasts that
because that actually
we
goes
can
in
dive
later.
in.
it does go in later.
So,
Yes.
so we're not cutting ourselves off to not talk about it later because it does go in later. But it's a cool hot water heater.
Yep.
So that's a teaser.
Yeah,
That'll be the cliffhanger. You guys just be on the edge of your seat waiting to hear Ben talk about it.
I think they're all on the edge of their seats.
Right on the way out.
Hey, no, wait a minute. I've heard all this. I want to hear.
Right. So unless there's some other plumbing magic thing that we can't remember, I go through in my brain. I'm sure there's something might come up. We can always add it in when we talked about the fancy water heater because I'm really excited about that.
it's a great.
I have one. I do.
Yep.
I get it.
No, I think that's it for the MEP Rough In.
Yeah,
We roughly covered it.
roughly.
Oh, you
covered.
made that full entire podcast with that one, huh?
I thought about that one this morning and
Oh
wrote
my
it down.
gosh, good for you.
I set an alarm went off 5 minutes ago.
Thanks for sending all the questions in. Keep on sending them in. We'll throw them on the next podcast. So that's cool. The
Yep.
interaction's nice.
Yep, interaction's good. We'll read them on Facebook. We read them on really any of the platforms that all have comment sections. So
Right.
sponsorship's still available.
Okay.
We'd like to thank again. Huber is still our sponsor. We're not up on the year yet, and so thanks Huber for being the sponsor
Helping
this
us
year.
out.
And
Yeah.
Capella was just a part-time sponsor. They were an
episode,
episode.
yes. So can't talk about them anymore. All right. We'll see you guys next time
Thanks
for the
for hanging with
TPBA
us.
Yep.
Builder Talk podcast.
Appreciate it.